definition of a Lagos successful story. They had been together since they were 16, teenage sweethearts who had survived the chaotic hustle of the university, gotten married, and climbed the corporate ladder together. Now, 4 years into their marriage, they had a beautiful 17-month-old daughter and a massive 4-bedroom bungalow in a secured estate. To survive the punishing weight of the current Nigeria economy and help family out, their family had slowly transformed into a free hotel. First came Bimpe, a close friend who rented out the boys' quarters and had been living on the property for 5 years. Then, a year later, the real pressure arrived. Femi's parents moved into the main house. His mother was battling severe stroke complications, and his father, who still worked a demanding full-time job, desperately needed hands to care for her. 6 adults under one roof. The house was large, but it felt like a prison. Femi's dad was a wonderful man. Despite his age and his own exhaustion, he tried his best to help around the compound. But Femi, his ailing mother, and Bimpe, that was where the unspoken resentment began to feast. Before the house became a communal hall, she hadn't minded handling the bulk of the cooking and cleaning around the house. She was meticulous. She liked her space kept a specific way. Femi brought in the heavier income. She managed her own job and kept the home running. It was a fair, silent trade. Then the baby arrived. Right behind her, 2 elderly in-laws. Suddenly, she wasn't just a mother and a professional. She was a full-time housekeeper and an uncertified nurse. The sheer volume of endless chores was turning her into a frustrated, angry shadow of herself. At 9 p.m. every night, she was so thoroughly drained that if Femi even reached out to touch her shoulder in bed, a wave of irritation would wash over her. The worst part was the morning reset. She would wake up at 5 a.m., walk into the living areas, and feel her spirits drop. It was as if the endless sweeping, scrubbing and mopping from the previous day had never happened. The kitchen sink was a permanent mountain of plates. The laundry was never-ending cycle. For a long time, she made excuses. Femi was drowning in his own demanding corporate job while pulling late nights for his executive master's program. She wanted to respect his time, so she shielded him. She drowned silently so he could study, taking the weight of his sick mother and their crying toddler entirely on her back. But now, the program was over. His work schedule had lightened, and yet she was still under the water. It wasn't that Femi was a bad man. If she explicitly asked him to do something small, like put water in the washing machine, he would do it, eventually. But the procrastination was agonizing. She would return from an exhausting day of market runs or meetings, and it was a 50-50 coin toss whether the shores had been touched, let alone finished properly. But the actual labor wasn't what was breaking her. It was a mental load. You have eyes, Femi, she would think bitterly. Watched him walk past a cluttered table. You can see the floor needs sweeping. You can see the sink is full. The toilet needs scrubbing. And your parents need dinner. Why do I have to point it out? Why do I have to write a project management roster for my own husband to notice a dirty house? Even when he did try, the questions were relentless. If she asked him to do the laundry, he had a dozen questions about the machine. If she asked him to fry ordinary eggs, he would ask which frying pan to use and how many spoons of oil to pour. It felt like weaponized incompetence, even though she knew it wasn't. Femi wasn't lazy. He genuinely struggled with heavy anxiety and executive dysfunction. She did too, but she didn't have the luxury of freezing. She had a family relying on her, so she powered through the mental blocks. When she begged for a breather and asked him to take over a show, only for him to follow her around the house, asking a million questions on how to do it, she realized she never actually got the rest. She was still doing the work, just using his hands to execute it. In the quiet dark corners of the afternoon, she began to fantasize, not about a glamorous vacation or a luxurious spending spree, but about running away. She would picture herself packing a single suitcase, driving down to Ikeja, and renting a small, brutally quiet one-bedroom apartment. She would tell his father that she was deeply sorry, but she could no longer care for Mama. The body was crushing her. She would give Femi 50-50 custody of their daughter, just so she could have 3 solid days of absolute, uninterrupted silence every single week. She knew that if she could just get that space, she could finally be the patient, loving, laughing mother her daughter deserved, instead of the resentful woman she was becoming. If she could afford it, she might have actually done it. But Nigeria's biting inflation had no mercy. Between the soaring price of fuel and the astronomical cost of feeding 6 adults every day, they were completely broke. To make matters worse, salary delays at their jobs had thrown their finances into chaos, let alone support her daughter independently. Escape was a luxury she couldn't buy. The deepest pain lay in the fact that she still loved him. She had loved this man since she was 16 years old. Femi was the only true home she had ever known. They had grown up together, navigated adulthood together, and built a life from scratch. The baby, the house, and the car loans. Their lives were completely woven into a single fabric. Drowning in a profound daily sadness, they would talk, he would listen, he would even cry with her. But sustainable change felt impossible. Right now, in this house, love was no longer enough. What would you have done differently? Your opinion might help someone going through the exact same thing silently. Every smile has a story, and some stories deserve to be heard. If you have something you've been carrying in silence, pain, heartbreak, struggles, healing, lessons, or even victories you would want to share, Behind the Smile is a safe space for your voice. You can send your stories to behindthesmile47@gmail.com. And for ads placement or sponsorship or collaborations, kindly reach out through the same email. Thank you very much for being a part of this community. See you in my next video.